Hi guys, I am here with some more Bible animal facts. Let's see here. Okay. Looks like we're going to start off with dragons. Dragons are found in both the Old and New Testaments. In the Old Testament, the term is sometimes more accurately translated as serpent, but often it refers to the great monster of mythology. It is a symbol of evil. Read the book of Revelation. You'll see it talked about in there. In Revelation 12, it is a symbol of Satan. Dragons are known from the literature and art of the ancient Near East as well. Wild boars and pigs. Hebrew had only one word for domesticated pigs and wild boars. Both were on the lists of prohibited foods listed in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. Psalm 80:13 refers clearly to the wild boar. The boar from the forest ravages Israel. The New Testament speaks of swine several times, always in pejorative references. Satyrs. Satire is classical mythology where forest gods, half man and half goat. The Revised Standard Version translates the Hebrew term share as satyrs several times, while the New Revised Standard Version renders it goat demons, Isaiah 13:21 and 34:14. The references probably refer to a pagan deity with the form of a goat that lured the Israelites to worship it, Leviticus 17:7. Usually the Hebrew term means hairy one or male goat. Lions. Hebrew has some 9 different words for lions, which suggests the lions were relatively common in Old Testament times. You hear about Daniel in the lion's den back in the Old Testament. Most Old Testament references to them are figurative, referring to strength, but several historical incidents record lion attacks. In 3 cases in the Bible, lions killed people, and in each case, this was a punishment for them. And remember, they threw Daniel into the lion's den so he could be killed in front of all those people sitting in the Colosseum for his, they just thought it was funny, entertainment. But the lions didn't hurt him. God was with him. The lions didn't touch him. All right, Paul and the lion's mouth. The Apostle Paul stated once that he was rescued from the lion's mouth, 2 Timothy 4:17. Some see this as a reference to a lion in a Roman amphitheater. However, it comes in context where Paul is speaking of opposition to him, and so others see a reference to the devil here. This is perhaps more likely, since the devil is spoken of as a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Lions in the ancient Near East. Lions were a favorite of kings. The Persian king kept lions in captivity during Daniel's day. In Egypt, lions were trained to help in the hunt. Ramses II was said to have kept a tame lion that went with him into battle. The Assyrian kings liked to hunt lions. In Roman times, lions were used in sporting events in which they fought each other, bears and gladiators. Christians also were ordered thrown to the lions by some emperors. Sick. The lion's den. The lion's den was a pit or trench in which lions were kept. It is mentioned in the story of Daniel, who was thrown there when he refused to stop praying toward Jerusalem. Daniel 6, verses 16 through 24. When he was vindicated, his false accusers and their families were themselves thrown in the den and devoured by the lions. Near East, but Job 38, 39, and 40 does speak of lions crouching in their dens. Deer. Several different words for deer are found in the Bible, like my favorite Bible or psalm, the hart refers to as a deer. As the hart or the deer pants for the streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. The hart is probably the roe deer. The male of the species weighs up to 300 pounds and has 6 pronged antlers. It is not well suited for desert living, which is reflected in Psalm 42:1, as the hart pants for streams of water, my favorite psalm. The Bible usually mentions deer metaphorically, referring often to their graceful running and leaping abilities. Gazelles, now they're fast. The gazelle is a type of antelope whose horns differ from those of the deer. The gazelle has horns that are hollow and do not branch. They are mentioned in the Bible for their speed and their beauty, and Isaiah 13:14 mentions the frightened, hunted gazelle. Horses. Horses were common in biblical lands. They are mentioned more than 140 times in Scripture. In Old Testament times, horses were held by royalty, and they were a symbol of royalty and human power. In Israel, kings were not to accumulate horses, but to leave military matters to God. David kept a few horses after one battle, but his son Absalom was able to capture them during his revolt against his father. Stalls and stables. Several passages mention stalls, which were the compartments animals were kept in within their stalls. King Solomon had 4,000 stalls for horses and chariots. 2 Chronicles 9:25. Archaeological remains of impressive stables and stalls have been recovered from Megiddo and other cities dating to later periods in Israel's monarchy. The war horse. Most references to horses in the Bible are to war horses listed as property of one nation or another. Job 39:19 through 25 has a magnificent description of the war horse, speaking of its strong neck, its leaping ability, its majestic snorting, its fearlessness, and its zest for combat. Other passages speak of its speed and sure-footedness. Okay, let's see the time out. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Revelation. Revelation 6 mentions 4 magnificent horses and their riders, representing the evil to come at the end of the world. The first horse was white, representing conquest. The second red, representing war. The third black, representing famine. The fourth horse was pale, and its rider's name was Death. It represented war, famine, pestilence, and wild beasts all at once. Elephants. They are very smart, elephants are. You know, they will mourn for each other. They'll even have burials. Like a funeral ceremony I've seen on one documentary. They say elephants never forget. They're very smart. Elephants are not mentioned directly in the Bible, although ivory from elephants' tusks is frequently mentioned. During the time just after the Old Testament, elephants were used in the military. The famous black obelisk of Shalmaneser III, an Assyrian king from about 858 to 824 BC, shows Assyrian vessels bringing elephants and monkeys to Shalmaneser as tribute. bears. Bears are rare in today's biblical lands, but the Syrian brown bear was more common in biblical times. They were mentioned several times as fierce animals, but only twice are bears referred to in actual historical episodes. The first story is when David killed both bears and lions that threatened his sheep. 1 Samuel 17:34 through 37. The second story is about two bears that came out of the woods and killed 42 boys who were tormenting the prophet Elijah. 2 Kings 2:23 and 24. Monkeys. Monkeys are only mentioned in a list of goods that King Solomon imported from overseas. Once every 3 years, the fleet of ships of Tarshish used to come bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. 1 Kings 10:22. They were not native to Palestine. Five golden mice. When the Palestinians captured the Ark of the Covenant, God struck them with a plague that was manifested by the outbreak of tumors. 1 Samuel 5. It was probably transmitted by mice or rats. In response, the Philistines made 5 golden mice and 5 golden tumors and sent them into Israel territory with the ark, hoping to stop the plague. Sacred trees. Sacred trees called Asheras were a part of almost every ancient Near Eastern culture. These were part of the sites of many sacred cults. In the Bible, these trees were forbidden to the Israelites. Some of these trees may have represented the Canaanite goddess Asherah, a consort of the god Baal, in other words, Satan. Cedars of Lebanon. King Solomon used wood from the stately cedars of Lebanon in making his temple. These trees can grow to a height of 120 feet, with a circumference of up to 40 feet. The wood is fragrant, free of knots, and is not attacked by insects. One very plentiful in Lebanon, cedars are now very rare there. They are the country's national emblem today, appearing on its national flag. The Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is one of the 2 special trees mentioned in Genesis 2 in the Garden of Eden. God placed it in the Garden of Eden as a symbol of eternal life. After they sinned, Adam and Eve were no longer allowed to access it. The book of Revelation speaks of people eating of its 12 fruits and being healed by its leaves in the new creation. The Judas tree. This is the name given to the tree that Judas supposedly hung himself from, Matthew 27:5. It has reddish flowers that look like drops of blood. The flowers appear before the leaves, and the flowers spring straight out of the trunk itself, as well as from the new wood on the branches. The tree is the Syracuse siliquastrum. Tradition states that the tree weeps blood each spring in memory of Judas. All right. How many more we got left? Okay, we got a couple more left, so I'll just go ahead and read them. Sycamore trees. The prophet Amos was a dresser of sycamore trees. By profession, Amos 7:14. The figs of the sycamore tree require cutting open with a knife, point at the certain stage to help it in its ripening process. And Amos did this. Branches of the sycamore tree are strong and wide-spreading, and Zacchaeus climbed such a tree in order to see Jesus better. Remember, because he was a little short guy. Luke 19:4. Willow trees. My mom likes these. The willow tree is mentioned several times in the Bible. The true willow was a small shrub or tree growing near water, and it flourished in the Jordan Valley. Psalm 137:2 mentions that the Jewish exiles in Babylon hung their harps on the willows there, but this tree was probably a variety of the aspen or poplar tree, such as the tall aspens. Almond trees. Joseph's father, Jacob, gave Joseph's brothers a present of rare delicacies that included almonds to take to their brother. Genesis 43:11. The trees blooming in late January is a sign that spring is coming. Almonds served as models for the cups of the golden lampstand in the tabernacle. A rod of almond. A striking wordplay of the word for almond is found in Jeremiah 1:11. God showed Jeremiah an almond rod, shokwit, to illustrate the point that God was watching over shwikoid, his own word, to perform it. Aaron's rod. Moses' brother Aaron, the high priest, had a very interesting rod. On one occasion, it turned into a snake that devoured the Egyptian magician's rod snakes. Exodus 7:12. On another occasion, it sprouted buds, blossoms, and almonds overnight. It was in a contest with the rebellious people concerning priestly authority. Numbers 17:8. This rod was kept in the Ark of the Covenant. Hebrews 9:4. Date palms. The Bible mentions many fruits, including apples, figs, dates, pomegranates, grapes, nuts, and olives. The date palm was one of the most valuable fruit trees in biblical lands. Almost every part of the tree was used: the fruit, the pits, the leaves, the trunk, the crown, and the branches. Lilies. The Bible mentions lilies many times, but the term probably refers to different plants in different cases. Carved lilies, probably water lilies, were part of the temple's decorations. The lilies of the field were probably the poppy, the white daisy, or the crown. Thistles and thorns. More than 20 words in the Bible describe thistles, thorns, brambles, and other prickly plants. They are mainly mentioned symbolically when talking about fruitlessness or worthlessness. Abimelech, a ruthless pretender to the throne in early Israel, is compared to the lowly bramble. Jesus told a parable of thorns choking off seeds, comparing this to the snuffing out of faith in some new believers' lives. Herbs and spices. The Bible mentions about 15 to 20 herbs and spices, not all of which can be precisely identified. Some, such as cinnamon, cane, galbanum, and frankincense, were used to make sweet-smelling incense for religious purposes. Others, such as mint, dill, cumin, onions, and garlic, were used in preparing food. Still others, such as cassia, aloes, and spikenard, were used for cosmetics and medicines. The olive branch. The olive branch has become an international symbol of peace and goodwill. This imagery comes from its association with the dove and the story of Noah, where the dove, released from the ark, returned with an olive branch in its beak. 8:11. C.S. Lewis's Wormwood. In C.S. Lewis's fictional book, The Screwtape Letters, about the correspondence between two devils, one devil is named Wormwood. His job is to poison the mind of human beings assigned to him. This imagery is taken from Revelation 8:8-11, where a star named Wormwood fell from heaven and poisoned the waters of the earth. Yep. Sweet cane. Isaiah 43:24 mentions sweet cane. A wild cane is found throughout Palestine, but most scholars think this refers to sugar cane. Honey was the most important sweetener in the Old Testament times, but this cane was probably chewed or used to sweeten drinks and food. The Rose of Sharon. The Song of Solomon compares a man's lover to the Rose of Sharon. It was not a rose as we know it today, but probably a tulip of some kind, either the Tulipa montana or the Tulipa sharonis. Hemlock and wormwood. The King James Version mentions hemlock twice, but modern versions translate the word in question as poisonous weed or wormwood. Wormwood is mentioned several times in the Old and New Testaments. It was known for its bitter, unpleasant taste. It came to symbolize sorrow, tragedy, and even cruelty. All right, guys, that was all the interesting Bible facts about animals. I hope you guys enjoyed this series with me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Good night, guys.